things
Put
are.
everything
Yes.
on proficiency bonus.
A lot of things are based on it, but not spells. Speaking of spells, bards are prepared casters, and so are rangers. And
This I do like.
maybe everyone is? Question mark. We'll see.
Yeah, I think everyone might just
Everyone
switch
might
over
be.
to prepared.
I do like
What
this.
I'm kind of middle of the road on it, to be honest.
Like, I think it makes sense for certain classes to be known casters, like sorcerers, obviously.
I could see the
Just
argument
give
for.
them more fucking spells.
I mean, it would be interesting if sorcerer was the only known caster. That'd be intriguing. But you would have to give them something in return to make it, worth it.
right? Like,
But
I see it for bard. Ranger, I'm
I
like,
see it for ranger.
really?
I think that makes sense. Because the whole thing about ranger is I'm knowledgeable. Hold on, let me swap out. Hold on, I know what we need to deal with tomorrow. Let me swap out my ability so we're ready to go for tomorrow. I think that makes sense.
Yes.
Because Mr. Daddy Crawford's explanation on this one.
we call him Jawcraw on the streets.
Oh yes, Jawcraw.
I've literally never said either of those.
Yeah, no, I will not be calling him Jawcraw. He basically said, because of the way the game is, combat emphasized, what a lot of players end up doing when they are known casters like a sorcerer or a bard is they just pick a lot of combat spells and they don't pick anything else because they know that they're going to reliably use their combat spells. And because when you're a known caster, you only get so many spells that you're going to ever learn, you got to make sure you sort of make the correct choice. So now, making them prepared casters, you can have a situation where if you know for a fact the next day you're not going to be fighting or you're going to be doing some sort of investigation or something different, now you have the option to go, okay, cool, now I can use these other spells that when I was a known caster I would never have picked them, but now that I'm a prepared caster I can prepare them for a day, use these more flavorful like RP focused spells, and then swap back to my combat spells when we go out to the dungeon. And I think that makes a lot of sense because it is true. I mean, I can say from my own experience, when picking spells as a bard and a sorcerer, I was almost entirely like, is this going to be good in either a fight or be some sort of buff or resto thing I could use? So
I get
makes
it.
sense.
Kind of, I get it. So my counter argument is this, right? When you get classes like cleric and druid, one of the biggest complaints is, oh my god, there are so many spells. Which ones do I prepare? Like, what if I pick one that's completely useless for the day and it fucks up my party? You know what I mean?
Right, which is why they have the suggested lists.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. The suggested list is fine, but it doesn't cover every situation. And, if one D&D is going to be what, like, everyone thinks it's going to be, it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be good for what we want now, and then it's going to shift, like it did with 5e. So, how long is it until the suggestions are sort of outdated? You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, the thing is like, you literally could never, you can't make a suggested list that would cover every scenario because you're not at every single person's table, right? So that's an impossible goal. And being a known caster has the exact same problem, except you're doubly locked down because not only did you pick the wrong spell, you also can't prepare a new one, So like, that's always the problem is, wow, there's a lot of spells. What if I pick the wrong spell? Now, at least if you're a prepared caster, you can go, all right, well, I picked the wrong spell for today. Let me swap that spell out tomorrow because I'm never using it. I never end up using it. You know what I mean? So I would argue it's actually solving that problem.
Sort of.
But didn't Tasha's add that whole thing, like certain classes? I think the
Only
bard had
on,
a
like,
thing where they.
Level 4 and level 8, I think. Like,
Oh, I thought it was like from then on, every
No.
time they long rest, they can swap. Or
no,
maybe that's
That was the
wizard I'm
playtest.
thinking of.
it was levels. So they added spell versatility to a lot of the known casters, but they were only, I think they were anytime you got a feat, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
So-
In Tasha's, yeah.
Yeah, so like they put it there, but it was kind of restrictive. So it didn't it was like a half step. Whereas again, this just making them prepared casters, it's like, all right, well, I chose the wrong spell for today and I didn't end up using it. And now I know this spell's not very good. I'm just not going to prepare it anymore. And I'm just going to swap out and, the stress is gone. Whereas, I picked the wrong spell. I'm a known caster. I don't get to change this. Now I have to beg my DM, can I please change this? I didn't realize how shit this spell was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so my thing with that is, I would prefer if you were like a known caster, but maybe on a long rest you could swap out a single spell. That way you're not like completely inundated.
That's a prepared caster with more steps.
Sort of. It is a more restricted prepared caster, but it's one of those things where it's like,
that feels like an unnecessary half step when we already have prepared casters in the game. So it's just easier to just be like, you do this now.
Sort of, because I see it like this, right? It's like, okay, you have your spell list. You get to try out, the spells on your spell list. But there isn't like this massive incentive to like prepare a bunch of new spells on a different day. Right? It's like, oh, well, shit, I have 8 quadrillion spells if I'm a druid. What if my usual spells don't work? Like, I have to redo all of them. And like for me, whenever I play a cleric, I get really stressed the fuck out with that.
I understand, but Isaiah, do you not see the other problem where, okay, I'm a known caster, I just don't get to solve the problem. I'm just in the shitty pigeonhole now, Like, I don't think this idea that known caster is somehow easier to deal with, I don't think is true, because you're still picking from the giant list either way. The only difference is a prepared caster is if you fuck up, you have a failsafe, whereas a known caster, if you fuck up, you don't have a failsafe, I mean, obviously you could, be like, hey, GM, can I swap the spell? But like, rules is written, you do not have a failsafe. And also, not for nothing, but having all of the casters be having all of the spellcasters use the same kind of spellcasting rules really helps with teaching the game. Because I distinctly remember when I learned the game, I thought everyone was a known caster because I had played, or I had seen someone play. I don't even remember why I had that assumption, but I thought everyone worked like sorcerer or bard. And then I played a cleric and I didn't realize I got every spell on the cleric list. So I picked and chose. I thought I had to choose and I was a prepared caster. That was what I thought. I thought it was both. I didn't realize no. As a prepared caster, I thought it worked like wizard, which is even further confusing that wizard has to choose and is a prepared caster. That's a whole other thing. So
I actually kind of like that.
Making everyone use the same spellcasting system, it can help a lot with like teaching and learning the game. Like spellcasters cast this way. This is how the spellcasting works, And it's like,
yes, but it also, you lose access to like tiered entry, right? Like playing something like a warlock, which is arguably the simplest caster to play, right? Because you have your spells. These are the spells that you have. You don't have many of them, but that you don't have to worry about many of them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, if you think about it,
I don't know if Wizards wants that though. I don't know if they want this idea of like some spellcasters are easier than others. I think they, in their mind, if you want to play an easier class, just don't play a spellcaster, period, is what their thinking is. The spellcasters are the harder classes, the marshals are the easier classes.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It just seems like...
I mean, you cannot like it, but I think that's what their train of thought is.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about what I don't like. So, it just seems kind of like weirdly limiting, despite how much it opens things up. It's like you're opening it up more, but you're focusing it less, it feels like.
You're not, though. Because you're focusing it more. You're focusing it on one mechanic as opposed to 3 disparate mechanics. Before we had prepared caster, known caster, and whatever the fuck's going on with wizard. Now, potentially, we just have everyone's a prepared caster. So you're honing it in and saying, all right, this is how we want spellcasting to work. And it's also easier to design when you're more honed in like that. Just sort of generally.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I'm having trouble putting it into words. It doesn't sit well with me.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I think it makes more sense.
Yeah, no,
Like,
'cause
like I said,
bounce
in some
back
aspects
and
it
forth
does,
with it,
but
too.
it just doesn't feel. It just I don't know.
It's all about the
it just-
feeling.
What'd you say, Matt?
It's all about the feeling.
No, before that.
No, because I bouncing back the same thing when I said like I get it, but I also kind of would prefer known casters or something, kind of like the wizard. Because I like, again, someone who played a wizard for 14 fucking levels. Yeah, no, it did feel like the best of both worlds. I was a prepared caster, however, I didn't have the entire fucking spell list like clerics and druids. I had a limited spell list, but it was still way more than sorcerers. So I kind of like that.
That does also
I
open
guess-
up an interesting like rabbit hole when it comes to wizard, right? Because wizard's whole thing is you're a known caster, but you can learn more spells.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Are they going to change that?
I don't know. I don't really want to get too deep on that theory crafting rabbit hole because we just have zero information.
It's just a theory.
You know? I did have that thought. I have no clue. Wizard.
Because
I mean,
if they do, I'm gonna be kind of miffed.
maybe they just accept wizard as the most complicated caster and just leave it the way it is. I don't know. Because it will be kind of weird to take away the scribing new spells into your book because that is like a big keystone feature of the wizard.
Yeah.
Unless they make it a class feature, like, or
It is a
Oh, I
class
already
feature.
hate-
well, like,
It's already
Yeah,
a
I
class
guess
feature.
more. I don't know.
Wait, no, wait, what?
Like, unless they have it do more, like, be like, you know, like a subclass feature or something.
Well, then that would imply only one specific wizard subclass gets that.
Well,
which
like
is
each
kinda weird.
each subclass gets a different version of the.
Oh,
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless they make it into
That'd be
something
interesting.
way more than it should be,
Hmm.
which would be weird. But I don't know. Again, theory. Anyways, actually, wait, I'm not hosting. Josh.
I know. I don't know why you keep doing this.